So I want to share with you, we all have some river reed thinking. Do you know how they train elephants in India? And I will relate back to this is our mindset. In India, elephants are farm animals. Unlike cattle for most of the rest of the world, because India's cattle is considered so sacred, they consider cows as sacred and they really treat them with reverence and respect. But they train elephants in a very different way. When they train small elephants, they get a baby elephant and they put a big rope around their leg and a big stake in the ground. And the baby elephant pulls and tugs at their legs, trying to get away. But ultimately, the rope and the stake is so strong that the elephant finally gives into the tug of the rope. Now, as the elephant is growing up, gets larger, instead of increasing the rope and the stake size, they decrease it because what happens is the elephant gives over to the tug. It leans towards the tug instead of away from the tug. So the adult elephants, they just weave river reed together, and the slightest tug that they feel when they're in the river, they go where the tug is happening, right? It isn't that the elephant doesn't have the capacity to go past the tug and pull it out. It has the strength, but it has some old thinking of, if I pull it, it's not going to give way, so I'm going to just give way to it. You and I have some river reed thinking. We've been trained to look at circumstances and condition to determine what opportunities are there, what are the possibilities are or aren't there. We've learned to really think and live outside of ourselves. We have this one thing happening for each and every one of us. That is infinite intelligence. You and I cannot wake ourselves up. There's a power that is breathing us, and whatever that power you call it, it's God or universe or infinite intelligence, that is greater than your circumstance and conditions. But because we've had these old ways of thinking, that it keeps pulling us back into the old patterns. And we get stuck and we keep repeating these patterns over and over again. Because what is inside of you is greater than any circumstance that is happening outside of you. Yes, at a level of fact, there aren't enough jobs. Yes, absolutely, the economy is going a different way. Yes, that you are getting rejection letters. Yes, you're not hearing back. And I'm going to ask you to think beyond that, beyond the circumstance, because if I'm going to make agreement with those, then I'm only going to create the same results. And if I'm thinking those thoughts throughout the day, is that supporting the results that I want to create? No. If I want a new result, I must shift out of river reed thinking into new thinking, new ways. So why, sometimes we go down those old paths of, right, those old neural pathways that we have, and we start looking at the conditions and circumstances, and we start making agreement with that. And then absolutely, it's heartbreaking when we get a rejection. It's heartbreaking when we don't get an answer and we don't get a reply. Absolutely. What we want to do is, there was a question that somebody asked, how do we hold our state? We want to sequester that. We want to sequester that feeling. Let's say you did get a rejection. Maybe you take an hour or two and you want to either write it out, how you're feeling, you want to have a good cry out, but you want to sequester it. You don't want to have that flow into the next day and the next day and the next day. Because like as any party, there is a beginning and an end. We want to sequester this energy of this is happening and this is, this happened. And yes, I'm not saying that we don't want to be compassionate with ourselves, but we also want to be aware of how am I letting this bleed through the rest of the week? How am I going to bleed through and show up the rest of the week? So we want to sequester our, we want to sequester it. I'm not saying dismiss that feeling. That's not possible. We are human beings. We have feelings. We experience hurt. We experience rejection. We experience that. But we want to start to sequester it so it is supporting us to what we do want. Okay.